Hey, my name is Jesse James, and today I have a very exciting video for you today, which is the 2026 model reveal. Chapter 1 has been released by Harley-Davidson. These are going to be the first bikes released for 2026. This is a time of year where we get to see some rollover models, where bikes that aren't getting a whole lot of changes, those get to come out. We get to see those first. So it's a really exciting time, especially for not just us as riders, but for me working at the dealership, seeing what's coming out next, because these are going to be the things that are going to change up the showroom. So I'm super excited to go across these bikes. Everything I'm pulling is from Harley's website or the videos that they've released from their official channel. So no speculation, just exactly what is out there for everybody to look at. Also, forgive my voice a little bit. I am going through some laryngitis, but I had to get this video out because I am super excited. But yeah, let's start breaking it down via model family. I'll go across what I see and, more importantly, like what I don't see, kind of give you some of my thoughts on that. Start off with the cruiser section. This is going to be the one with the least amount of changes, and that's not totally to be unexpected. And that's just because last year in 2025, that was the big overhaul to the cruiser section. That's when they introduced the new 117s across the platform, all LEDs all the way across, different gauges and the different engine setups with it. So not unexpected for these to be pretty much left alone. Nothing really crazy from the looks of things. Just look over. Obviously, there's some new colors. As I said, I'm not going to dive too deep into each and every single one. I'll do that later on once I have my hands on the bikes. But yeah, cool to see that everything's made it from 25 over into 26. The only bikes where I could really see maybe they would have dropped it from 25 over to 6 really would have been either the Fat Boy or the Breakout, even though I've said before, like, those are really the only two of the cruiser setup that stand on their own and doing their own thing. I just know from my area they're not crazy popular, so that's where I could see, I wouldn't be surprised. But I am personally happy to see that the Breakout and the Fat Boy have made it over into 2026. And one of the things with these previews and with the carryover doesn't mean that that's everything that's going to be out. Obviously, they're going to release some stuff later on, but also if they decide to bring back the enthusiast or icon editions, those might be cruisers, but they're not going to show that until much later on. So it's just something to keep in mind. Next, we're going to jump over to the sport family of bikes. So for the sport family of bikes, we saw the three that have been in it for a little while return in the form of the Nightster Special, and the Sportster S. What really surprised me about this family of bikes was that there was really no changes. Everything's the same way of how they debuted in 22. The only changes that you could really see is if you look on the engine itself, they've got a little bit more of a different sculpture to them now than they did previously, but that's not going to change performance. So the thing that really surprised me about the Sport family, though, was not only was everything the same, but they didn't show anything. Later in the next few families, you'll see where they're teasing different changes or different models that are coming, and it's like it'll give you the name and a stock image of the bike under a cover, but that's nothing in the Sport family. And the reason that's surprising is not too terribly long ago, at the CEO change, it was the big rumor of $6,000 bike called the Sprint that was supposed to be coming. Now, that doesn't mean that that bike's not being made. I guess it could be being made overseas. But I know that, just as a riding community, we've been asking for a good little while now to have something in that more classic sporty style brought back. And to see absolutely nothing there, I just found it more of a head-scratching moment than anything else. So now on to the touring family, and off the cuff, nothing surprising. Street and Road Glide have returned. But then when you get down to pricing, that's where the biggest change comes on it. Of now, the Street and Road Glide are two different prices, with the Street Glide coming in significantly cheaper than the Road Glide, which I find fascinating. That's the first time in the modern times that it's been like that. But now we'll go over to new reveals and stuff, and we've got the Street Glide Limited. This is not to be confused with the Street Glide Ultra from 2025, and then the Road Glide Limited. So full-dressed Road Glide is now coming back from the factory. I know that this was something that we talked a lot, at least in my showroom, of wanting to have a full-dressed Road Glide. But now we got it back. Here we have the CVO Street Glide. Again, nothing crazy on that facet. So this is where it gets juicy with the CVO Street Glide Limited and CVO Street Glide ST. Both of these are going to be new for this body style, especially the CVO Street Glide ST, because since the new body style, we've only been getting the Road Glide ST, which is confirmed to be coming back for 2026. So I'm curious to see what that CVO Street Glide ST looks and feels like. There's so much to unpack in the touring section. The first one being just the price difference between the Street and Road Glide again. $3,000 cheaper to go with the Batwing versus the Road Glide, which I know is very different for people that have been riding for a while. Like I'm talking back to the early 2000s where you couldn't give a Road Glide away. But now, and a lot of it I'm sure is King of the Baggers making it popular to be on a Road Glide. It's the one to get compared to your Street Glide. So $3,000 difference there. But also something that wasn't there was the Road King. No Road King special anymore, not even a hint. I'm kind of hoping that like maybe they're just not putting a little stock image and that there'll be some form of the Road King later on, because the Road King's kind of like the heritage to me of like, is it gonna be like the most popular? No, but it's that old school nostalgia feeling. And while I do think the Road King could have used like some sort of facelift, and I don't know what the answer to it would have been, it does make me a little sad to not have the Road King in the lineup, even though from a what selling standpoint, I do get it. Now over to the full dressers in the Street Glide Limited and the Road Glide Limited. Obviously we don't know anything, but we did have the Street Glide Ultra in 2025 and only the Street Glide Ultra in a full dresser. So me kind of like Monday morning quarterbacking, thinking of what the differences would be. If you go back to what Harley used to do for their full dressers, their Ultras would be more of the matte, less little finishes and details, and then you go up to the Limited, and that's when you would have your heated grips, your quality of life stuff, your upgraded infotainment if there was different tiers, but also a painted inner fairing. So that's something that I personally would like to see on both the Street and the Road Glide Limited, is to have that painted inner fairing and get back to a little bit more of that. If you go with the full dresser, you get those nice quality of life stuff. But you know, we'll see. I think a lot like on all these reveals, that's going to be we will see what actually happens, because I frankly I don't know. This is all me just speculating and be excited about the new bikes just like you guys. Fast forwarding over to the CVO Street Glide Limited, I think it's cool that the full dresser is, because from getting the CVO treatment, because I feel like for especially the past several years, you could always count for the same CVOs every single year. And who knows, maybe this is a big push this year to get the Street Glide back into some popularity where Road Glide's been taken over. Maybe that's the reason why we're not seeing a CVO Road Glide, but we are getting all these other CVO variants of the Street Glide. But you know, we'll see. And of course, CVO Road Glide ST is going to still be a thing, because you got to have the bike that is King of the Baggers inspired still out there with the popularity of King of the Baggers. So now on to the adventure touring platform. Nothing crazy through here. You'll see that the Pan America ST has returned for 2026 and the Pan America Special is still there. Both relatively unchanged except for like some slight changes to the Rev Max engine again, and then a badging change on the regular Pan America Special. Down here, forgive me clipping it out, but you'll see the Pan America Limited is being teased, which I found an interesting entry. So yeah, no real changes in the adventure touring section, and not at all to be unexpected, just because they've been doing well on their own. And I think really, like, what would you really change there? Maybe some like internal components just from either sourcing or making it easier people to take care of them. I could see that, but from as the bike is built, it's built just the way that it's meant to, in my opinion. Pan America ST definitely carved out its own section last year, so I'm glad to see that they're bringing it in for another year. The interesting one is the Pan America Limited, because it sounds really corny, but the only thing I could think of for them to do is literally just a full dressed version of it, of throwing on the 3 hard boxes. We'll see what actually happens, or if they change a few things here or there. But like, what else are you really gonna do to it except for like maybe give it a quick shifter? But we'll see. I will say, if they do come out with the, if it is just the 3 hard boxes and the hardware, and then at that point, it's, you've got different tiers. You can either have your skinny tier or you can go full dressed. But yeah, what are your thoughts on potentially that extra layer there? Again, nothing confirmed, but just like where my mind goes to of what these bikes could potentially be. Straight from Harley's site, Road Glide 3, Street Glide 3 Limited, and CVO Street Glide 3 Limited. So this is the section that has the biggest question marks and mystery. I think it's easy to say that we're going to have all new trikes all the way across the board with all the new body styles and different flows. I'm very curious to see what they come out looking like. I think that interesting choice of not having the Road Glide Limited trike as it, like Road Glide 3 Limited, just because it's an option on everything else except for in the trike family. Also, they're dropping the name Tri-Glide, calling it the Street Glide 3 Limited. Interesting choice, but we'll see what the people say. I really hope to see a couple things get changed on this. One, I'd really like it to see independent suspension in the rear. I'm not a trike person, and I think the trikes ride fine, but I have heard that from enough trike people out there who are riding on them and putting like tens of thousands of miles on them each year, that's something that they would like to see. So I think it'd be a good gesture thing for it to be added in there. And then after that, I'd also like to see like an automatic option potentially be on there. Just because if we're talking trikes, like that's accessibility, man. That's trying to help out in a lot of cases, either older riders or aged veterans who are just wanting to keep knees in the breeze. Like I know I've got one customer, he has a fused ankle, and so he literally can't move his foot. So I think an automatic option on the trikes would be a great thing. But we'll see. I'm super excited to see what the trikes look like and ride like, like everything about it. I will also say one of the models that you don't see on there, which I was so glad that they dropped, was the freewheeler. I got the idea behind it, just I think in my 3 years so far, I've only sold one. That was it. Nobody else was wanting a freewheeler. And I get it. If you're going to spend that money, you want the infotainment. You want those updates. And I get it. And okay, now that I'm saying it out loud, I can kind of see why they get rid of the Road King. From that, because you can make that same argument on the baggers. But I don't know. I like the Road King more for the touring family than the freewheeler for the trike family. And that is it. That is all we know so far about the 2026 model lineup from Harley-Davidson. What are your thoughts? Are you interested to see what Harley's got up their sleeves for those models they haven't revealed yet? Did you kind of see everything you needed to, and it's going to be a pass year, or that maybe this is the year that you go and get something for yourself? I'm curious to see what your guys' thoughts are. If you've enjoyed this video, thank you so much for watching. Consider giving a like. If you want to see more behind the scenes content of like what happens for somebody working at a Harley-Davidson dealership or bike reviews, stuff like that, consider subscribing because that's what I do here. But more than anything, thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you out there riding.